What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have Brittany Eddy with me. She's with Coldwell Banker Realty. Brittany, thank you so much. We've been I say social media friends for several years now, but really haven't had the opportunity to really connect and on a deeper level. So I'm looking forward to diving in and learning a little bit more about your journey into this business.
Indeed. Yeah. Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. So Brittany, I always start with the beginning. I want to start with growing up. What was life like? From childhood to going into high school. Right after high school years.
Yeah. So I actually was originally born in San Diego, California, believe it or not. People are always like, well, what brought you from San Diego to Columbus, Ohio, right? With winters and that sort of thing. But long story short, some family situations brought me to Columbus. I have a very big military family, so where they were always bouncing around anyhow. But so Columbus is still home. I've been here since I was about 6 years old. And grew up on the south side of Columbus, what is now known as Marion Village. So it's always interesting, especially being in real estate now, is seeing the transition of these neighborhoods, right? And you're like, that's not
Yeah.
called Marion Village, that's the south side of Columbus, right? So grew up in that area, went to South High School, right? So I'm a Bulldog, and transition went to Columbus State, and then went to and graduated from Ohio Dominican University
Okay.
here in Columbus. And so growing up, I mean, kids don't go outside these days, I guess, right? It's kind of what I think about. We went
Yeah.
outside, we played hopscotch and double dutch and, jump rope and rode our bikes and did things that kids, we
Yeah.
think are normal, right? Now everyone's just kind of stuck to their computer and games and that sort of thing. Nothing wrong with gamers, right? But um, that was me
Well,
growing up. We just
hey, in today's world, you can get a scholarship for video games now, right?
I mean, it's a big deal, right? So yeah, that was me growing up. We were outside. we were
Yeah. No.
free.
Did you have any like entrepreneurship, growing up? Like, because obviously getting into real estate, and we'll get there, that's a different animal, right? And I'm
Yeah,
always curious, did you do sports? Did you sell lemonade? Like,
I did. Yeah, I was that girl. So I sold gum, right? When I was in middle school, I would sell little sticks of gum. I did play tennis. I played tennis throughout high school.
oh, cool.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. Was always watching the Serenas, right, and the
Yeah.
Venus and these sorts of folks. And so seeing her retire was kind of like, wait, am I getting old? Like, what's happening? Um, so definitely played tennis, was on drill teams. I was a dancer and that sort of thing. Was always hanging around the football players. And
Yeah.
so I understand the football culture, right? Because I grew up always. I hated cheerleading, though. I'll tell you that. My mom made me do like this little league cheerleading thing in middle school. And I was like, I don't ever want to do this again.
Wasn't for you.
Drama. Yeah. Um, but yes, I was one of the first kids in my high school to get a car. So I was like number two, literally in the entire class. And so I remember taking my classmates, I'd like bribe them. I mean, back then gas was like, next to nothing, a
Yeah.
dollar, right? So I'd say, $5, I'll take you guys to McDonald's, right? On our lunch breaks. I remember a pile. I had a Geo Metro, like a
Oh
little
yeah.
Geo Metro, and I'd pile like six people into this car and like charge them $5 each. So it would always pay for my McDonald's, my gas, and like I'd always have extra money. So yeah, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I never really had anyone in my family per se own a business or grow up entrepreneurial. So they, naturally still to this day, some of them don't even know what I do. They're just like, I don't know. She's got flexibility, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So going through high school, graduate, you said Columbus State and then ODU, right?
yeah.
What did you end up going for to college for?
I went to school for communication, so I was prepared to be this world-renowned BBC journalist. Right, that was my track. I was ready to, reporting live from Kuwait, and this was what I
Yeah.
was prepared to
Yeah.
do. I actually dabbled in radio for a little while as well. And I was going to be a broadcaster. That's what I was set to do. After that, I actually, believe it or not, I went into, I had this interest and passion, still do to this day, full transparency, to go to law school, in which I did. So I went to Capital University Law School, and did about a year there. And that was actually my start before real estate. That's what I was doing before real estate. I was in law school in the day, or actually I was working at the law firm during the day and then going to law school, right? How crazy is that? In the evening. And so did that for about a year before I got into real estate. Yeah.
So what made you want to first start with communications and the reporting side?
So I always felt that the media, right, and just our communication sources and outlets really control a lot about of how people think. Really, it controls a lot of their day to day, and really wanted to be able to. I think we were in a transition and in a space, whereas now, I mean, I think a lot of people can attest to just really looking at the accuracy of news sources in where we're getting our information. And I wanted to be, I was studying like the Gutenberg press, right? I was studying like the heart of this is what news should be, right?
Yeah.
I was in that era though, where I was already starting to see the shift of social media and folks that were just automatically kind of doing their own thing. And I wanted to be a part of that original, accuracy of news and media sources. So
and then what made you ultimately switch to go into the law?
So I've always been an individual that was, or that has been, and still has a keen passion for just social justice issues and like these sorts of things. I especially around like economics and banking institutions that are discriminatory, and these are like, it just gets me I get all excited talking about it. I'm like, that bank should have been closed a long time ago, these sorts of things. So that was an area that I wanted to, that's a reason why I wanted to get into law. And one of the areas of practice that I was planning to practice was real estate and housing discriminatory laws, right?
Okay.
And so I didn't meet the threshold to go over into the second year of law school. And so Capital was kind of at a point where they're like, oh, you're like right there. I think you had to have like believe it or not, a 3.0 is not even a high threshold, right? We understand that. But in law school, it's a big deal, right? Because it's a completely different ball game. But I was like at like 2.9965 or something like that, right? And so anyway, Capital was at a point where they're like, well, you're right there. All you got to do is send a letter and petition, and we'll get you over into the second year. But I'm a very in-depth, in-tune person. Really always take a look at things happening for a reason. And so I sat down with myself. I remember that summer, and I said, there's some reason though that why I'm kind of being met with this, either send a letter, continue to law school, or kind of what do you really want to do right now in this season? And I was getting married. I mean, it was just a lot going on already. And I said, let's take a pause on this. And folks were asking me, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And someone, I still to this day, I wish I could find out who it was, but someone recommended real estate to me. And you should have seen me, honestly, at that point. I was like, real estate from law? I'm going to be an attorney. Like, why would I go into real estate? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. It humbled me. It gave me an opportunity to really sit alongside of, in business. It's about relationships, right? I definitely understood business from a standpoint of math and numbers and calculations and logic and all those sorts of things. But it's at the heart of it. It's relationships, right? And so
well, in real estate, you get to do communications and law.
Yeah, I know, right? Blend it all together.
What made you really sit back at that age and make that decision of like, communications, maybe wasn't for you, law, was it really where your heart and passion was? Was there anything that really just was like, I should really think through this at this time?
Yeah, I think so finances has also been always a passion of mine. I feel like I took a look at a lot of took a look at the financial kind of outcome of a lot of attorneys and colleagues that were around me and my friends. And I'm like, you're spending all this money student loan wise, right? And then a lot of them were not happy. I mean, they just weren't happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why am I here? Right. Like, am I really here to just rack up a lot of student loan debt and then just to be mediocre in something that I'm doing every day, right? And that's I have a lot of, it's no disrespect. I have a lot of friends, great friends that are attorneys, and some of them they are happy with what they're doing, but a lot of them are not, right? And so I just took a step back. I'm always, like I said, I'm always, I journal, right? That's not surprising coming from a communications background. I'm very much in tune with myself and self-confidence and kind of that sort of thing. And so I don't know. I'm grateful. I always tell people I'm grateful for a sound mind, right? And so I think that's what it was. It just took me back and said, do I really want to spend all this money right now and not really know if I want to do it?
No, I think that's awesome that you're able to kind of pick up on that and really think on it at that age. And I tell people all the time, real estate's all that I really know. And the flexibility and the lifestyle and what it's been able to give me. I always tell people, making $100,000 in real estate, to me, is probably making you'd probably have to make 120, 130 in corporate world, because just being able to come and go, clock in, all of that has a price to it. Indeed. Right. And you looking around seeing people that just weren't happy. They may be making good money or whatever, but it's a high stress, I'm sure it's high stress, long hours type of job. And ultimately, are you going to be happy?
Yep. And that, I mean, a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I don't know. I mean, even that could be an interesting concept these days, right? But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. It's about truly a holistic lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I looked at.
Yeah. So someone just suggested you should get into real estate. Walk me through that. What made you kind of go down that road? And then did you have a lot of supporters, doubters? You're going for this, this high profile type of job, right? Of going to school to be an attorney. And it's like, oh, sorry, actually I'm going to go sell real estate. And usually we're looked at down here, so.
And in fact, I was one of the ones that looked at it that way as well, right? It's like, real estate, come on, but no. So the notion came, hey, maybe you should get into real estate. And what I thought about was, this was an area of practice that you were already considering doing anyhow. Perhaps maybe if you kind of get your feet wet and understand the backdoor approach, if you will, of this industry and what this entails, then maybe somehow it gives you greater insight into the legalities of it. And so that's what I thought, right? And honestly, some of that has proven to be the case, believe it or not, because I mean, right, in our industry, we deal with every day is not the same. And that's what I really actually love about what I do, is that there's not this monotonous kind of, okay, you come into the office, you do this, you are dealing with different people with different situations, right? Whether when they're selling a home, they might have a completely different reasons to why they need to sell or what's going on. Or versus even when someone's buying and the stories that are coming out of for their reason for wanting to buy, right? So I took that very seriously on the onset, and this kind of also, while I was taking it seriously, I also had an open mind to just be open to whatever it could entail. And what I did, because in true Brittany fashion, where I have to do my research, right? Is I remember this like yesterday. It's so funny. I started Googling top real estate professionals in the city of Columbus. And I said, well, what I want to do is, if I'm going to consider a career in real estate, I want to go talk to all these people that are top performers. And I want to hear, who they are, why they like what they do, and what they're doing, sort of thing. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind me name dropping him. Michael Jones is a very good friend of mine, mentor. And he was one of the first people that I reached out to. And I said, didn't know there was a whole hierarchy, right? Just completely disrespectful. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I just need to speak with Michael Jones. And he's like, who is this? There's a whole you need to get on the calendar, sort of thing. And I'm like, well, I don't know who you are, Michael, but I need to speak with you, sort of thing. So anyway, fast forward, he's like, I don't know who you are, but I like you. You sound like you're going to go after what you're going to go after. And
Yeah.
You probably have a viable career at some point in our industry based off of this conversation. So anyway, fast forward, sat down with him, spoke with him, really got some good insight, and the rest is history. So.
Yeah. What year was that when you decided to get licensed?
2016.
2016. Okay. Awesome. Doubters in the beginning, supporters.
Yeah. Well, I remember this like yesterday too. My husband said, listen, he went from law school. Okay. And law school was already stressful on everyone else enough. Right. If you're going to do real estate, I remember it like yesterday. He said, I need you to be all in. And so those are the words that stick with me every single day that I come into the office or I do anything. I need you to be all in. If you're going to do something, all in. And he supported me from day one. There definitely were, in the beginning, you get the folks that are like, wait, what? You're selling real estate? You were supposed to be my attorney. I don't know if I can trust you with my house now, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But eventually, again, everything's relationships. You eventually show the expertise and the understanding of the knowledge and the industry, and that you really know what you're talking about, and people open up to you. So
yeah, no, that's awesome that you had that support, from your spouse, day one, because some people, that's what they need to get it going, and other people thrive on the haters, right? To prove them wrong. But when you see, like when I got in, I was engaged to my first wife at the time, but we were college kids. We were already broke anyway, so it didn't really matter if I went into
exactly.
it didn't matter if I went into a 100% commission job. But having that spouse support, of like, okay, hey, we're going down a different path now.
Indeed, yeah, it mattered
and
a lot.
I love that he said you got to go all in, because
all in?
that's hard. I mean, that's hard for someone getting into our business to jump 2 feet in and run with it.
Indeed. And it wasn't necessarily a smooth process, although I did have my husband's support. But it wasn't necessarily a smooth process, right? You had to think about, so he was still working, but he also wanted to become a full-time entrepreneur as well. And so we had to start thinking about, well, okay, now we're going to have 2-family household with, like, where's our medical insurance coming from? And,
right.
These sorts of pieces, right? And so it's just always been kind of, strategy is one of my favorite words. So it's always been, and it still is, right? As we think about scalability, it's all strategy and calculated risk, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. Is strategy something that you did from day one, getting into the business?
No. I thought I had a strategy. It took me 6 months to close my first deal when I first got in. It's so funny because I hear even other agents, they're newer agents, they come in the office and they're like, what would you recommend that I do? And I'm like, come into the office. Like, and they're like, well, to do what? I'm like, come into the office. Even sometimes you don't even know why you're in here. You just come in, be present, show that you want to learn, and you never know who you'll meet in a given day. And so my first sale 6 months after I first got licensed was we called it floor time, right? It was just kind of hanging around the office, like, anybody need anything? I don't know how to fix coffee, but I'll try, sort of thing. And it came from got a phone call, brokerage got a phone call and said, hey, anyone available? I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll go show the house and close the deal. And
that's awesome. I tell agents all the time, in the office, even if you have nothing going on, just to change your environment, to get out of, being at home. At home, we're comfortable, right? We're relaxed. Yeah. Once you go into the office, there's something a little bit different. Even if you don't know what you're doing, to your point, or whatever, it's just being in real estate, even just sitting there, right? And you just never know. One of the best clients I ever had was an investor. Actually met with another agent who was across the hall, and she just didn't seem comfortable with him at the time because there was foreclosures and all of that. I was young, and she's like, hey, you want to work them? And I was like, sure. I think he ended up buying 7, 8, 9 homes through me.
Nice.
Still talk to this. Now I'm just trying to get him to sell them all. But, because back then he was buying them for like, 20, 30, 40 grand. And then now they're probably worth 150, 175 plus. So.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, you let me know when he does get you to sell them, so I can loop a buyer in there.
Yeah, he's like, John, I've worked so hard just to get to this point. I was like, yeah,
Right.
but you're sitting on a gold mine now. So Brittany, it took you 6 months to get that first deal. Kind of walk me through the first couple years of your business, struggles, successes, what was working, what didn't work.
Yeah, indeed. So 6 months to close the first deal. After the first one, it does something to you. You're like, oh, this is great. Like, well, the first one you close and you think that the entire paycheck is yours, right? Oh my gosh, I got a whatever $7,000 check or whatever the case may be. No, you don't, right? Like we have to learn to run things as a business. And that was very much prevalent for me on the onset is, okay, get a commission check, split a little bit here, split a little bit there, put a little bit more into some marketing, those sorts of things. And those things weren't taught to me, right? And it's one of my biggest passions in our industry for just folks that have interest in our industry is to teach them to run the business like a business. I think they find a lot more success early on with that mentality. As opposed to, again, I got the full commission. I'm rich. Yeah. Like, I don't have any money this month. Now I'm rich again, sort of thing. Pendulum swing, right? Yeah. So after that, I think my very first full year, I only closed even still like 7 deals or something, right? Yeah. And I got to a point where I said, hey, to my husband still, right? I'm like, hey, I know you told me to be all in, and I am all in, but I'm having trouble getting clients. I don't think people still trust me because I'm brand new, that sort of thing. I think I want to go back to work. And he's like, well, why would you want to do that? I told you to be all in. I was like, well, I don't think that all in sometimes means that I just have to completely be full-time, right? Which is what our industry pushes a lot. I think all in means that I have to be working at this every single day. So my strategy, right, if you will, was to go back to work and start telling people that I also do real estate. And believe it or not, it worked. It really did work. I started getting then listings where a lot of times, folks will say, oh, you're new to the industry. You can't go after listings. I learned very early on that listings was my leverage, right? It helped me control my income more. It helped me control my entire business more. And from those listings, I automatically get buyers, right? From the signs in the yard and those sorts of things. And it was just like eureka at that point for me, so it worked. I went back to work. I worked for a law firm, right? It's all I knew. So I worked for a law firm part-time. And it was dealing in real estate law, right? So it was something I knew. And I'd go back and I'd talk to the attorneys and the clients and those people and say, oh, well, I do real estate too. So it's like, I can help you sell this thing. You're like, oh, okay. I'm like, as long as it's not a conflict, then I'm good. They're like, you're good to go. So it worked.
Was it like probate stuff or was it just, okay.
Yeah. Yep, like probate. There was also some kind of collections related things in there where folks were just, their credit card bills were racking up and just those sorts of things. And they were just coming up on hard times financially, which is why finances, I think, is the heart of, as much as I help people buy, sell, build, and invest in real estate, right? I tell our colleagues all the time, right? You got to have some notion of understanding of finances, guys. We're helping people with large investments and assets, right? You got to understand some of these pieces for sure. So
yeah. And like you said, I mean, I think the industry's broken. I think the way that we bring in new licensed agents to this industry is backwards, is wrong. Because, I got lucky and I was fortunate that I met Ryan and my team lead, my mentor from day one, because I tell anyone to this day, if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be in this business. I didn't know finances. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know sales. I didn't know real estate either, And so, we share some of that same passion of, hey, let's think about this the right way, and truly how to build out your career.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So lead me up to like current day. How has success been? Did you rock probates for a while and kind of stay, that working
Nah,
your other job and doing real estate, or once that kind of really started getting some traction, it was time to jump over?
yeah, once I got some traction, I just said, okay, all in this season now means me go back full time, go back into the office, work my sphere. And 90% of my business up until this day right now has been sphere of influence. It's literally,
That's
I
awesome.
haven't really done any, cold calling or anything to that nature. And I think that, you work what works best for you. That's what I tell people. It's like, if you're good at door knocking, then door knock. Like,
Yeah.
if you're good
Yeah.
at cold calling, then cold call. If you're good at FISBOs, call the FISBOs. Like, do what works best for you, right? And don't really let anyone tell you, oh, okay, you're newer or you're not quite, you haven't been in the industry 10 plus years, so you can't get listings. It's like, that doesn't make any sense at all, like
Yeah.
really understand and learn everything and then kind of explore your options, right? And do it
Yeah.
enough to actually give yourself some valid numbers to know if you're actually good at it or not. Because I know sometimes we try things and we're like, oh, I'm not good at it. It's like, you called two people, like
Right.
let's keep doing it and just see if it works or not. So 90% of the business has been sphere of influence. Now where I'm at is I'm actually at a point where I'm thinking, okay, let's tap a little bit more market share. People know you. You have a decent brand now, right? Let's go ahead and actually try to see if we can expand and tap a little bit more market share, and add in maybe some lead generation sources, and really tighten up some marketing and some content and those sorts of things. So we'll see where this leads us in the next maybe 12 months, 12, 24 months.
No, that's awesome. You're spot on. I mean, I've part of me doing this type of podcast is, I never really got down with, you have to be the top listing agent, or you have to be the top this, or you have to be the top that. What I found over the last 11 years and helping other agents kind of get into the business, and myself included, is just what you said. Find what you enjoy doing, because the reality isn't real estate's simple in the sense of all you have to do is think of every single day, who do I need to connect with
Yep.
today to talk to about real estate,
Yep.
on the simple level of it, right?
Yep.
Or who do I need to follow up with today that I've already spoken to about real estate to talk real estate to, right?
That's right.
Those two things.
That's
And
right.
so
I wake up every day, and that honestly, all I just say, I mean, how many people in the world, right? Something billion people. I'm thinking, okay, cool. What am I supposed to do today? Who needs my services, right? Like, who
yeah,
needs my services? So yeah,
yeah,
no,
it
you're absolutely
all it all works. It's just what do you enjoy doing,
right.
and then just be consistent around that. I don't care if it's like, you're a single guy and you want to go and eat lunch every day at the bar or at the restaurant. Guess
Yeah,
what? There's other people there that either rent or they own,
that's right.
right? They're
That's right.
probably not homeless, right?
Yep.
And eating out. So,
Yeah.
how can you slide in? How can you slide in real estate into into a conversation, right? To let
Absolutely.
them know
Someone
that you,
told me a while ago. It was one of my first real estate coaches. Right. He actually told me. He said, "Listen, I think you're overthinking this, Brittany." He's like, "You need to do life and let real estate fall in the cracks." And I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." He's like, "No, what I need you to do is like, what do you do on Tuesdays or Thursdays?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just wake up and I think I'm supposed to do real estate, right?" Like, And he's like, "Well, what I'm asking you is what your lifestyle looks like." I was like, "Well, I try to go to the gym in the morning." He's like, "Perfect. Go to the gym and work out. And if you see someone, do you friendly, say hi or what?" "Yeah, typically I do." "Okay, great." And find a way to naturally talk about real estate. And I'm like, that's
yeah.
simple enough, So yeah.
Yeah, it's literally like, hey, my name's John. Oh, my name's so and so. Oh, awesome. Well, what do you do?
We do.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they're gonna say it back to you, right?
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So, but it's just that, it's the consistency. And where I find agents that struggle with it is when they try to do things that they just don't enjoy doing because they
Yeah.
think that they need to do that thing
Yeah.
in order to be successful. So
Yeah, and I think people work with, well, we know that, right? We know that people work with who they know, like, and trust, right? And
Yeah.
so that like factor is sometimes they're going to work with folks that mirror them,
Yeah.
essentially, right? And so it makes sense, right? If I, you know, like today, even still today, I still play tennis, right? I enjoy playing tennis. I'm on the tennis court. Um, we're talking tennis, right? And then it's a natural conversation into, so what do you actually do for a living? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now let's fast forward. I want to fast forward into the future. What's
Yeah.
something that you're what's something that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months?
So that's just good timely question as we think about like 2023 is probably right around the corner from us.
Yep.
Um, but the next 12 months, really where the next 12 months I see myself, I've started to build a small team. I want to get tighter on operations. I really do. So just kind of tighten up our systems and what that looks like. I think that's what really helps businesses scale, obviously,
Hmm.
and really looking at um, systems and AI, you know, artificial intelligence. I'm not saying that this is necessarily the wave of the future, but we have to be aware of it. And so just want to tighten up kind of what that looks like from my business back end standpoint and see how I might be able to just kind of propel our business forward from a business
Yeah.
standpoint, scalability. But I'm in a space of leadership right now and just really looking at who I am as a leader to our greater community, to our industry. I don't know if you know, but I serve on the Columbus Board of Realtors as a
Yeah.
director. So I'll be entering into my second year as a director next year. I'll also be come president for Women's Council of Realtors next year. And still
Awesome.
serve on several committees throughout Columbus Realtors and looking at what leadership looks like on the Ohio Realtors platform as well. And I'm just in a space of leadership. When people look at those, I know a lot of people and a lot of our colleagues sometimes in the industry do these things for additional accolades, right? They're like, oh yeah, look at me. You know, I
Yeah.
got some additional things on my title and behind my belt. But I'm seriously looking at as you talk about the future, what does this look like if I truly do at some point go back to law school, right? What does this look like on a political landscape, perhaps? Who can I be and what can I contribute to our city? Columbus is vast in growth and development, and I think we're headed in a really good direction as a city. And I want to be able to just impact legislation and some of those things at a greater scale. And so I don't know, maybe we will see me run for office at some point with real estate and economics at the forefront of what I want to do. So,
There you go. Do you I've been saying this for about a year now. I don't feel like the word affordable, housing, living, in Columbus anymore is a thing. I think Columbus is ready to take that next step in the terms of a city,
yeah.
and just with what we have going on. I'm curious of your opinion on it because
In,
you kind of have some of that interest and background.
yeah, you can see me kind of gearing up. I'm like all excited about the conversation, right? This could probably be a whole nother hour. But I think that what we have to do as a city is first, I think we need to get clear on the definition of what affordable
Right.
means, right? You got the city with a different definition than the state, and the states with a different definition than the federal housing poverty guidelines. And it's just all over the place. I think we need to get clear on what affordable means. And I think the challenge with that is because affordable means something completely different to individuals and families, right? What's
Right.
affordable to you, John, might not be affordable to me. I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me in my household,
Right.
right? Um, and so I think that's the challenge that we're up against. Um, and obviously, we know that there's also these components of low inventory. And then, okay, so we think that the quick fix is, well, let's just build more homes. It's like, well, let's think about this from a development standpoint. We can't just start building a whole bunch of homes, right? It's part of
Right.
what happened in 2008. We can't just build, you know, everything. I don't know. There's so many different caveats to that, but I think from the
Yeah.
affordable housing standpoint, if you will, we really need to start with the basics and think about what is the true definition of affordable housing in the city of Columbus, and what should
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, I think that's it, and I think it's, just the notion of the cost of living is changing,
That's
right?
right.
And Columbus, I think, is going to be in the next decade with what Intel's coming and whatever else is going to come because of that project. I think it's the mindset of the smaller Midwest city. I
Yeah.
think that definition is going to be changing for us. It's exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of problems will need to be solved over the next 10, 15, 20 years, but
Yeah.
as real estate agents, we get to be a big part of that.
Indeed, and which is exciting, right? It's very
Yeah.
exciting. I think, and I mean, it's a whole nother caveat. It's a different conversation, but folks need to be able to earn more, right? I
Yeah.
think about the luxury, if you will. As soon as you tell someone, right? Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm in real estate. They're like, oh, really? Oh, you're doing well, sort of thing. And that's not always the case, right? We know that. You and I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful to be able to be in this industry where, we can wake up every morning, every day, and create our own economy. And it's something that I wish for everyone, right? That they would
Yeah.
be able to wake up and truly believe that they have the ability to go out and create their own economy and what that looks like. And sometimes I hear certain stories. It helps keep me humble, right, as well, because sometimes you think that you're a little far removed. And my background and my family history does not exude that we had arrived, right, by any means. We certainly had some challenges and that sort of thing. And so to even be in this space where I am today, and then even see other friends and family still be at a certain level, it keeps me humble to understand that everyone is truly not afforded that opportunity to wake up and create their own economy.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Wake up and create your own economy. I
Yeah.
like that. What's a 5-year goal?
Ooh, 5. So I'll be 30. Oh, I'm telling my age. Anyway, I'll be, yeah, okay. So I'm thinking about this number in my head, right?
Yeah.
Um, That's a great question. I think,
And it doesn't have to be
so,
real estate.
well,
It could
no,
be whatever.
it's funny because I actually typically do have a 3, 5, 7, and a 10-year life goal, right? Which is funny. It's like I got my whole life planned out. When I think about 5 years, I do think I will go back to law school. So I'll probably either be like right at the cusp of completing law school, or who knows, wrestling with the bar exam. But it's all to be able to kind of add to what I do every single day in real estate. So it's to add to it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll already be an attorney, or I'll be kind of right at the cusp of finishing that, to be able to expand the services that we offer to people around maybe even housing discriminatory practices and things to that nature. A lot of things come in from appraisal standpoints to African American households and those sorts of things. So it will be an area where I'll be able to probably add greater service and greater value.
No, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What's your 100-year goal? What's your legacy goal?
My legacy. It's really about, I think it's about what we offer to the community on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't need to be this grand, my name's on buildings and, those sorts of things, right? Because at the end of the day, it's never really about us, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's about what we were able to contribute to everyone's lives individually, because that's going to be different for every individual, right? They might say, hey, Brittany was someone that I could really, just talk to, or hey, and she gave me my first job, or, these sorts of things. And so I always talk about the Eddy experience, right? A lot of times people see me hashtagged out on my social media platforms, and it's something that we talk about. And really the Eddy experience is all about, it's about exactly what you're asking about. It's about legacy and how we leave our communities, and how we leave people that were able to interact with us. So as cheesy as it sounds, it's like the golden rule, right? It's just do unto others and leave the place a little bit better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brittany, I want to be respectful of your time, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing, your story with us. I always end with this question, and it's if you could give the audience one piece of advice, that you wish you had either starting out or even to this day, right? Um, to another real estate agent, what would that be?
Yeah, many times people know me for kind of leaving them with this on when I do talk with people, and I will keep it very consistent. Always attach yourself to your why. Know why you're doing what you're doing, and there are seasons and times where we always have to kind of maybe go back in and reevaluate that why. But always attach yourself to a why, because it is what will keep you going when times do get challenging. So a
Now I
why.
gotta follow.
Attach
I
yourself to a
now
why.
now I gotta follow that up because that is one of the hardest things for someone to do. I think sometimes.
Mm.
Was there an exercise for you that got to that point of understanding your why, or did you just always know?
Um, I don't think I've always known, and I don't think I always know. Right? I think it's important for us to do the internal work, and what that looks like for someone it is completely different. Right? I know that my husband finds his why, if you will, or he kind of reshapes and rethinks about this thing when he's in the gym, right? For people, it's walking by water, right? For some, for myself, it's journaling, right? I journal a lot. I free write. I think about things a lot. I brain dump, right? These sorts of things. And I always keep an open mind about, well, why did I connect with this person today, or why am I in this meeting that could have been an email, or what, whatever. What is
Yeah.
it supposed to teach me? Like all those sorts of things. And I think it's about perspective, though. I think it's about perspective on life. And so I don't know that there's necessarily a particular exercise, but I think that's the piece, right? You're spot on that people are trying to find their purpose. Why are they here, right? Why am
Yeah.
I doing what I'm doing? And I think that life is really simple. We make it complicated. So try to find the spaces where you might be making life a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. And I think
Mm,
that will help people attach themselves to their why.
mm. Awesome. Brittany, thank you so much. Those that are watching, her phone number is at the bottom of the screen. If you guys are a real estate agent, reach out to her. She's a wealth of knowledge. She'll help you out. If you guys are looking to buy or sell here in Central Ohio, and you just resonated with Brittany's story, make sure that you give her a call. But Brittany, for those that are listening in to the podcast, what's the best phone number for you?
It's going to be 614-625-2831. Again, that's 614-625-2831.
Awesome, Brittany. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, John. Likewise. Thank you.
Talk to you later.